there's this anxiety that we have about posting content, about not posting content. Like if we become a content creator, then if we don't post, then we get nervous about not posting. And then we're like, oh, we need to post. It becomes this weird addiction kind of a loop. Like we need the likes, you need the views, you need the this, the that. You start to feel like that. And I think it's entirely possible to become a content creator, even without being on social media. I mean, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but just stay with me here, because if you are on social media too much, you know what that does to your brain. It kind of gives you that brain rot. It basically destroys your dopamine receptors and gives you the brain rot, the bed rot, the lack of motivation, just constantly comparing yourself to other people. And I'm guilty of this. Like I keep watching the same videos on YouTube. Like it's basically the same title of a video that I just watched. I'm clicking the next one. And I don't understand why I have this weird psychological trigger to watch the same videos. And so if you catch yourself in this like content consumption loop, listen to the rest of this podcast so you don't get stuck here, because we definitely want to be able to create stuff and post. You want to be able to create your art. You don't want to have constant brain rot and not be able to be creative. Seriously, every time I go out to the coffee shop, there are people on their phones, which is fine. I mean, it makes sense to be on your phone at the coffee shop, but there are people on their phones and they're just scrolling like so fast. I mean, like, how do they even know what they're doing? Like, and they get this sense of accomplishment, like they're actually getting something done, but they're going to do the same thing the next day. Same thing, probably hours later. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is even the purpose of this? And so I really think it's actually possible to become a content creator without even being on social media. I say without being on, of course you're on social media, but I'm just saying you're not on social media. You're not there 24/7. You're just there to post, have a couple of conversations, get some feedback, and whoosh, peace out. It's my theory on that anyway. Today, we're talking about the circular content theory. Well, it's a lot of you are starting to post and you're not getting any traction. People aren't really seeing your content. Like you finally got over the mindset F of like, what are my family and friends going to think? And then you realize they don't even see it. Or if they do, maybe you get that feedback you weren't looking for. But typically when you first start posting, you're kind of invisible. And so I think you can actually use that to your benefit. And I'm going to explain that. Keep listening/watching so that you know how you can use this for your benefit. So I've posted a lot of content. I've posted posts that basically have gotten no views. And the advantage of that is that I can go back and look at those posts and see what I've done that's good and what I've done that doesn't make any sense or that's not resonating with people, and try to figure that out. Like, what is the thing that's working and what's not working, and learn from that. And so use that as mentally as like a building block, a baby step. Like, okay, I made this thing, like I did this and I learned a lot from this, and so the next time that I post, it's going to be better. It's going to be better in probably these ways. These are some things that I need to work on. It really does make it easier to post the next time. And eventually it also makes it easier, like you post and your content doesn't do well later, then hopefully you've built up some resilience to the fact that like just sometimes content doesn't land. Like it's a miss. You swung and missed. It's like, in baseball, the batters go up, like, they go up to bat 100% of the time, but like a good batter is somebody that hits it like 30% of the time. So if only 30% of your videos have some resonance or do well, like you're still doing good, still doing pretty good, and so you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. And Gary Vee is famous for saying, document, don't create. But this is what I was talking about at the beginning. It's more circular than that. Like you have to create something, that's what you're documenting, the thing that you're creating. So in my case, I'm either documenting songs that I'm writing on the other channel, or I'm documenting, basically this podcast is a document of my thoughts and the things that I write down in the newsletter. It's sort of a recap of that and an expansion of that. So I'm literally creating / documenting at the same time. So it's a circular loop, like each thing feeds itself. And eventually, once you get out of invisible mode, once you post and those posts begin to resonate, and you start getting feedback, even if it's bad feedback, like that gives you more inputs, that gives you more content to create around. It gives you another perspective. If you're stuck, even in songwriting, you always can add a different perspective. Something I do on a regular basis is if I get stuck and I write a verse, I can always change perspective, write from future, past, from the other person's perspective. So if you feel like you get stuck and you're just posting the same thing or you're saying the same thing over and over, you can always just come at the core ideas from a different perspective. Another thing about posting into the void and that empty space that occurs, like when you post and it's just, your content just sits there, like that content is still doing something for you. That content is still working for you. Like if you post content and it's not getting any views right now, that content is working for you in the future. Like right now, the second episode of the podcast is full of gems. And if you are listening to this, you have the opportunity to go back to the first and second episodes of the Being a Creator podcast and listen to those and can get tons of value from that. I've mentioned this before in a video about DoDash, like why I think that she blew up, and it's from watching content over and over and over, getting better at it, getting better at being on camera and her performance, if you will, what she feels like she has to say and the energy that she needs to bring in order to get people to resonate with her. And then because she had such an enormous catalog, once people decided they liked her, they would go back and then her views would just snowball. And if you are curious about that, you can watch that video on YouTube. I'll link the video below. When you start making content, you see other famous content creators like Mr. Beast and some of these other larger creators, and they talk about the importance of having a good title and a good thumbnail. And I've recently started using a new tool to generate titles. And I'm doing this after the fact. So if I'm making content that I don't really know what the video is about exactly, then I can use this tool to come up with a title that is still catchy enough for people to click on it. Since this technology is available to us, I don't think that it is required to do it the Mr. Beast way. Like, how can you test a title if you haven't shown it to anyone? You know what I'm saying? How can you test a thumbnail if you haven't shown it to anyone? So coming up with those two ideas before you even write the video puts you in a very limiting box. You want to still be able to make stuff, right? Like you want to be able to make stuff that you can make. You know, we're not all Mr. Beast. We're not all pre-scripted shows. We all have a different way of expressing ourselves. And since these tools are available, making content should be easier. It should be more fun. And I talk about this a little bit in the video where I'm outside at night, and it's a little bit sketchy and the jump cuts are a little jump cutty. But the main takeaway that I got from my invisible post is that I don't have to overthink content. I can find my own voice and I can begin to get more comfortable on camera. I can shoot video about these types of topics in the real world, like just out. But what made that video special to me is the personal story in there about my grandma, seeing people with the it factor and beginning to crystallize this concept of the performance feedback loop. It's basically what happens when you're on stage. When you're on stage and you're performing in front of a crowd, like you're really trying to get that person in their seats to feel the emotion that you want them to feel, to understand the concept that you want them to understand, to immerse themselves in what you are creating, what you are performing. You want them to be there feeling that. And when they do, when they resonate with what you're saying or what you're doing or what you're performing, somehow you feel it. And just being on stage, you feel it and you get this performance energy feedback, like you get it back. And then you amplify that feeling, you amplify that performance, and you become bigger and bigger. And this giant aura flows out from you. And you become larger than you and larger than them. And I personally believe you can do this with video or with audio or recorded content. You have to get a little bit spiritual about this and realize that time is a construct. Zoom out from the time and realize that what you're saying is impacting people and you are getting that feedback from them watching it or listening to it in real time, and it can resonate. And if this is resonating with you, just leave me a comment and let me know if any of this is actually making sense or if I've just lost my marbles and I'm out in left field. But at the very minimum, just embracing this idea that your energy can be exchanged means that you should come with the right energy. You should come with the positive energy, wanting people to feel better from a place of imagining people feeling better, listening to your stuff, watching your content, listening to you. You want them to have an experience that helps them to improve whatever their day is and hopefully help them in the future. So if you're vibing with any of this, if you're feeling any of this, if any of this is making sense to you and you know somebody that's stuck in their content creation, or if you think this information will help them in any way, please share this one-on-one with them, because that's how podcasts grow. It's not really like a share on social media feed kind of thing, because it's generally such a time investment. They don't listen to new podcasts unless someone recommends the podcast. So if this podcast has been helpful to you, please take a moment and share this with someone else. And if for some reason you made it this far and you haven't hit the follow or subscribe button, go ahead and do that. And in the next episode, I have been experimenting with this performance energy feedback loop thing. And so I have a little more information and hopefully have a full podcast episode about the performance energy feedback loop in the next couple of episodes. We'll have that one soon. And if you're on the Red platform, watch one of these other videos or playlists here. And if you're on a podcast platform, hopefully another episode will play next. I recommend listening to the first and second one. There's lots of gems in there. Show me some love. Go listen to the second episode. Needs a little bit of help. And thanks for being here. And I'll catch you in a minute.